Hello, my name is Wildstag, and thank you for tuning in to another used book rant. Today, I'm going to be covering this book, Tomorrow's Bones, by Shanna Germain. This is a Numenera novel, a tie-in with the Numenera RPG, and I want to say it's one of two Numenera books I own, but if I have another one, I know there was one at Coas, and I was interested in picking that one up. If I didn't, it's probably still there. This one I bought back in, I want to say it was 2024. This was a $7 purchase. It went up on the shelves in May of 2024, and I read this in that year. I don't have the receipt here, but it was a good book, and I think $7 was well worth it. This is copyright 2019, and the cover is by Lee Satyawan, interior illustrations by John Peterson. This was printed in Canada. This book is set in the Numenera world, and it's a bit of a strange setting. And I don't know if it's explained why in other books or in RPG source material, but in this book, it's, I think, a billion years in the future. So, post many different types of apocalypses. There are examples of lingering technology from previous civilizations that exist and people understand somewhat or are able to use in other cases, but don't know how to replicate them and only use them to a certain degree. It's like a discovery process to understand how to use it, and that's, to be fair, a lot of modern day tech as well. But in this case, you know, a nuclear submarine captain can call up the can reference source material for how certain things work, or have people trained that know exactly how things work. In this case, it's not a it's not the sort of material people know exactly how it works in a manufacturer's manual sense. Now, for convenience, humans are the main dominant species. And maybe in the RPG, they're not quite humans, they're descended from humans or something. But functionally, in the text of the book and on the cover, it's humans. And that's one of the things that kind of irritates me about it, is that it's a billion years in the future. We understand if you have some further advanced form of humans, or rather, with something like the Terraformers, or the Imperial Raj trilogy, those are set upon thousands of years in humanity's future. Same with the Federation War trilogy with the Buchanan campaign and the other two, Fires over Coventry, and I forget what the third one is, Return to Camarine. So those kinds of books are thousands upon thousands of years in the future, but humanity remains unchanged, and I think Terraformers is the most in the future. Humanity remains mostly unchanged because humans are still dominant as a species and have kind of forged their way into stagnation. Numenera is, you know, it's not clear if humans are a recent development, though it is very likely they aren't. And if they aren't a recent development, how did they last a billion years? And so, with sci-fi having left and spread out over the entire universe or galaxy or whatever, it's a bit more believable, though a bit at times unbelievable, that certain populations haven't become their own subspecies. But for this one, Numenera is set in a very flooded world, and There is technology that modern or contemporary humans have figured out to adapt to that flooded world. There's one case where the city is entirely underwater, protected by a dome bubble, kind of similar to the Gungans capital in The Phantom Menace. So they've got this big old dome, and some are able to breathe air through water, and some have to have, like, it's kind of complicated, but in that case, the machinist character has figured out ways to make that city habitable. And in other cases, there are machines and technology of sorts to keep a city from falling into the water and sinking, very Atlantean almost. So it's got a story that is centered on a younger generation and an older generation. And in the case of the older generation, those people have lived exceedingly long lifespans, but in their younger years, they were the ones that made that underwater city, that not sinking city, that well above ground city, three different cities specifically. They are the ones who made those cities work and last for a long time. So they are ancient and their works are deteriorating slowly. But the younger generation is what the main cast is involved with, and in this case it opens with a story about the two characters that then go on to become the adult main characters. And it's two thieves. They're two thieves that are trained. They have nicknames for each other, a kind of thieves' cant that they use between each other. The characters are Mouse and Eben, and a the female member of the older trio is named Pivica. And Pivica is secretly the sponsor. And I say secretly, it is known to Mouse and to Eben that Pivica is their sponsor, but it's not known to the greater public. And she takes in these kids under her wing off the streets and gives them certain tools of the trade so that they can be useful to her. And when they are no longer useful, she discards of them. Now, as you learn in the story, Eben has stayed on that island for a long time, and Mouse is believed dead, but has actually disappeared. And Eben remains useful in his adulthood. And what he does is he instead acts as kind of the middleman for the youth, the street rats, and gives them names, gives them that honor code that they need to live by, and he teaches them in lieu of Pivica being a direct supervisor. So Eben, as an adult, takes care of these kids, makes sure that when they do eventually grow up and grow out of being street rats, that they have the tools they need to survive, even outside of thievery. And so he is working for Pivica for less than desirable ends, but he is also protective, and he's like a scoundrel that still has good in him. And then Mouse, the story loses track of her, but it picks up with a character that is the captain of her own ship. The ship is one of those ancient technology artifacts. They know how to use it, they can repair it and work on it, and she is in the process of delivering a exotic animal to her benefactor, who on a different city, the one that is struggling to stay above water, uh, that benefactor has a menagerie of animals, and she is bringing one in. It's a bit of a pirate slash high seas kind of story when it's involving her, but it's also part of an item retrieval slash heist kind of thing as well. And as it turns out, she is the woman that Mouse became. Mouse was able to flee her starting home, her original home, and was able to get onto a ship, learn her trade, become a captain, and have her own ship. And so there's some high seas adventures there, and that's a pretty cool thing. And then she comes back, she finds Eben, she works with Eben, and it's, there's romantic tension. It doesn't end with them like making out or anything like that. It does progress though, and I'm not going to reveal all of that, of course, because I don't want to get into spoilers, and also I'm kind of terrible at remembering those details. But it is an interesting book in that regard. The setting is the hardest part for me to wrap my head around because of that 1 billion years in the future and still humans issue. But overall, it's a pretty good book, and the as an introduction to the setting and to those characters, I like it. I don't think it is the first in a series. I think it's a standalone, but it does well at introducing the kinds of issues that might arise in that setting for like the tabletop role-playing game side of things. So as a introduction to Numenera, it works, and it works well. I like this book, and I'm going to hold on to it because, like I said, it's just a really good one. And I think I have had a hard time getting into Pathfinders or Paizo's novels about Golarion. And there are other RPGs that I've stumbled upon the like lore books for, and I just bounce off of them. The Forgotten Realms and the Iconics, D&D Iconics series, those work in different ways. D&D Iconics is really interesting because it uses the mechanics of the game in the books itself. And I don't have the Numenera RPG rules, so I can't say how much these books use those mechanics. But at least with like Dritz Dowerden series, or what is it, Elaine Cunningham's books with her Erilyn Moonblade, those characters don't strictly follow D&D rules. They kind of exist in their own space and then are also referenced by D&D. So I don't know which side of that spectrum this Numenera novel falls on, but I think it probably favors the Forgotten Realms novels kind of thing. As far as a tie-in TTRPG novel goes, this is a pretty dang good one, and I really am happy with the $7 I spent on it. I don't know that I would pay for it new, knowing it was like a $15 or $16 book. I don't know, but I've found this one to be really enjoyable. So, yeah, my name is Wildstag, and thank you for tuning in to another used book rant.